All right, welcome back everybody to the 16th week, aka the 4-month mark of our Tech Bytes JavaScript session. Wow, has time flown quickly. We started way back in the first week of June, and now September's already coming to a close, and we're in the swing of things with our new virtual schooling. Crazy to think how much our lives have evolved and how Tech Bytes has evolved along with our other library programs as well. But I'm so glad that if you are joining me and if you're a pioneer here with us from the first week, it's awesome to see you back. And in case you're coming from the web development course, welcome back to the 2-month mark, aka the 8th week of our web development course. As always, very glad to see you guys here coming after school. We do have some updates coming up for this next month as well. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get to it. All right. In case you guys don't already know who I am, guys, my name is Ryan Siddiqui. I'm a senior at James B. Corn High School. I love to program. I've made various apps for the App Store, made a dozen different websites, and I'm now really looking towards the content creation side in terms of working on my side technology YouTube channel, writing some articles on Medium, and running a sports talk show called Buzzer to Buzzer as well. If you're interested in anything which I'm doing, you're more than free to always check out my website at rayansiddiqui.com. Now, what's going to be our agenda for today? Well, we got a loaded schedule. That being that first, we're going to start off with an update about the month of October, considering how school has started, just shifting our schedule a tad bit, just to make sure that we all can be here. Then we're going to move on to our daily fun fact, go over our calculator project and the code which we programmed last week. And then lastly, we are going to add some more code snippets this week and keep working on our calculator project. And now, if you do remember, this calculator project is showing how far of a way we've come. You know, starting way back in June, we were learning about those fundamentals. We started making smaller and exciting games like our Jeopardy game. We made online different versions. And it's just crazy to think that now we're making a full-fledged calculator. So, yeah. So, firstly, what's going to be our new schedule for October? Excuse this image right here. However, the main thing which I want you guys to know is that instead of now starting at 3 o'clock, we're now going to be starting from 3:30, working our way till 4:30. So we're aware that a lot of you guys are in the 5th District 54, and school is being let out at around 3 p.m. if you are in elementary school. So in order to make sure that all of us can be here together, we are pushing back our times to 3:30, and then we will be finishing around 4:30 as well. If you have any friends who are interested in Tech Bytes, or they're interested in learning about coding, or some people you already know who've been involved in our program, please spread the word. Let them know that we are pushing back 30 minutes just to make sure that everybody has a quick time, catch a quick breather after a loaded day of school. But yeah, hopefully we can get together, get more people here, and have an even better time. And one more thing, the day will still be a Wednesday. So the day is not changing as always, only the time being pushed back 30 minutes. So I'll still be seeing you guys every Wednesday for our web development course. All right, so now let's get down to our cool JavaScript fun fact of the day. That being that we can fly a drone using the language of JavaScript. Wait, what? So let's dissect this piece by piece like we always do. Essentially, what I'm saying is that we can use our programming skills with the language of JavaScript in order to fly a drone up and down, left and right, in all sorts of directions. How is that even possible? Well, it's because, remember, we talked about our language of JavaScript and how it's helpful. However, remember that thing we've been talking about called Node.js, the back-end language? It's a server-side language which we can communicate with the server. And that one thing called an API, which we talked about in our Intro to Programming course this Monday. But a quick refresher, an API is AKA an acronym for Application Programming Interface. And essentially, with an API, it makes our lives easier. There are many pre-written functions, pre-written lines of code which we can use, and they allow us to do cool things like fly a drone. But how can we combine all three of these concepts and these frameworks in order to actually make a drone fly? Well, all we need to do is use our JavaScript and this backend language called Node.js, which has a lot of elements from the JavaScript language in order to communicate to the drone. Now, how does that communication between my laptop, which I'm programming on, and I don't have a drone with me physically here today, but say I had a drone in my hand, how does a drone and my laptop communicate? Well, it's through that Node.js. You see, the Node.js is a backend language which allows us to communicate to a server. In this case, the server is going to communicate with our drone, and then the communication can simply be maybe, hey, a fly command, fly 1 feet higher, fly 2 feet down, ascend, descend. And the way which we can translate our commands to the computer is using an API provided by some companies. So if you take a look maybe on Amazon or some other websites as well, you can find some drones which are literally made with programmers. They don't come with a remote controller. Instead, they only come out with the drone, and they give you some directions on what program to write and what website to use in order to fly the drone, which is pretty cool. And the way which we are able to translate our commands of fly, descend, ascend, go right, northeast, whatever direction you want to go in, is through an API which the drone company provides. And through that API, there are pre-written functions which allow us to tell our drone the way to move in. So with the conjunction of using JavaScript, Node.js, and our API, we are able to do something so cool. And in the sense that we're able to make an actual drone fly. And a drone, if you don't know what that is, basically it's like a helicopter, but just with 4 motors, essentially 4 wings rotating as well. But that just goes to show us one more time how the programming language which we are studying, that being of JavaScript, has truly unlimited capabilities. And if you were here in our Monday's Intro to Programming course, you learned how we could use our language of Python to place a pizza order. And today you learned how we can use JavaScript to fly a drone with our language. And I hope that you guys are taking away and learning and building this idea that, hey, the things which we can do with the languages we are studying is limitless. Although we go over a certain part, I only see you guys for about 2 hours a week in our Intro to Programming course and our web development course, excluding Hack Central. So besides the products we make, there is a whole other step, a whole other scale of the awesome things which we can do. All right. So with the awesome fact of the day finished, let's talk about and just do a quick recap of what our main goal, our core focus is with our calculator project. Now, in case you are new here, guys, this is a project which we started about 2 weeks ago in our web development course. So if you want to find out any more details, find out more of the code, not only can you find it in our Google Classroom where there is a weekly update posted, however, you can also find it on the Schaumburg Library's YouTube channel and check out our videos from the past 2 weeks. However, a quick refresher, the calculator which we're making, the basic idea is that we want to make a calculator which can do basic arithmetic operations. So basically, we want a calculator, although not like a graphing calculator, it can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square roots, maybe even some trigonometry functions if we're trying to get fancy. And the core concepts which we are hitting on through this project are the utilization of variables, functions, loops, parameters, getting user input, and working on the HTML along with manipulating the HTML using the document object model. Now, in case you have any questions, you are more than free. Feel free to drop in the chat if you have any questions, any ideas as we go through. But as like I said before, you can always find all the information, all of the code in the Google Classroom where everything is shared with you guys. In case you do not have the Google Classroom code, please let me know and I will drop it in the chat. All right, so now let's do a quick recap of what we did last week. So from last week, the code which we did was that we had an important day in terms of learning a new concept of substring. Now, remember the concept of substring is the idea that we are able to extract a certain piece of letters from a string. Hence the name substring, you're subbing from a string in a sense, if you get that. But basically, there were 2 main functions which we took a look at, and those functions were .characterAdd and .substring. Remember, the .substring function allows us to grab a certain piece of letters from a word. I'll pull up a whiteboard and do an example of that. And the dot character at tells us the index of where a certain letter or piece of letters is located. Now remember, the dot substring is the first number where we're looking at is inclusive. It's, remember, talking about an index. And then the second parameter is indeed an exclusive. And the reason why we were using this new concept of substring is because we wanted to make our calculator be able to do multi-digit operations. Up to last week, our calculator could only do single-digit operations, so like any number below 10, so 1, 2, 3, so like 5 plus 5, 6 minus 2, 3 times 4. However, last week we started on working on this idea of adding double-digit or any digits, however many we want, capability, and today we're going to be finishing that concept down, which brings me to today's objective, that being that we're going to finish the ability for our calculator to do multi-digit calculations. So for example, our calculator by the end of today's session should be able to do 20 plus 44. It should be able to do 20 times 50. It should even be able to do 3-digit calculations, such as 100 times 10, 550 minus 55, and any extraneous numbers which we want to make up. But the main idea is that now our calculator will not be limited to just doing 1-digit calculations. And if time, we can also start adding some further operations. But first, a quick recap about substring. So I'm going to share the whiteboard to do a quick example. So say I have a word, aka a string. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call my string, and I'm going to set it equal to hello, like such. So now we have our word hello. Now remember, indexes are really important throughout this all. So the letter H is located at the 0th index. The letter E is located at the first index. Remember, although H in our everyday common language, we say that H is the first letter. Well, H is located at the 0th index, however, it's the first item. So I'll make a note right here that the letter H is the first item, however, is located at the 0th index, and that is key. And a quick, keep going through these indexes. So E is at the first index, the letter L, the first L, is at the second index, the second L is at the third index, and the letter O is at the 4th index. So if I were to do, maybe type out pull a substring of our string, so say I want to do my string dot substring. Remember, there are 2 parameters which our substring method takes in, that being the beginning index and the end index. So if I were to do maybe my string dot substring from 0 till 1, does anybody have a guess of what will be printed out? Looking at the 0th till the first index. However, remember, this end index is exclusive, meaning we don't take a look at that. Anybody have any ideas? If not, that is totally fine. Remember, so if we are doing from 0 to 1, that means that we're going to look at the first the index we specified first, which is inclusive. So the H, so the letters H are going to be printed out. However, the letter at the first index is always exclusive. So only the letter H will be printed out. Similarly, if I were to do my string to substring from, say, 0 to 2, per se, this, in turn, would print out the letter H and the letter E, because remember, it is exclusive of the second index, meaning we do not take it in, it is crossed out. And basically, that is the main concept with our substring function. And then we also had a function called dot character at. And then in here, we put a letter in, which we wanted to know where that letter was located. So say I did use this function with my string, this would tell me that the letter E is located at the first index. Because remember, this function, it tells us the index of where our letter is located. So using this, we were able to check where that letter is located, and clearly it's at the first index, but it is a second item in our string. And remember, the reason why we are using this in our project is because now what we can do is the code which we added last week. Basically, if you have a number like 32, and then we have plus 63, the code which we wrote last week with our substring allows us to grab this whole number and treat this number separately. And using the substring idea, so this is the 0th index, and then we are going till the index of wherever our operation occurs. And then since we know that wherever our operation occurs, this is exclusive, right? I cannot write on this, pretty hard with the mouse. But since the operation sign is going to be exclusive, we are able to grab this whole 32, and then we look at the index plus 1, because after the operation symbol, which is inclusive, and then we are able to grab this whole second number. So with this basic visualization down and a quick recap as well of what we were doing last week, how about we actually open our code and take a look at that as well. So let my presentation load up. All right, guys, sorry about that. My internet's been on and off today, but we are back up and running. So we left off on the point that we were talking about. Let's open up our website to code and add and look at the idea of substring and what we did last week, and finish off our idea of being able to do multi-digit calculations. And yeah, without any further ado, let's open up the JS for the website. I will drop it in the chat as well in case you are new or have not used the website before. And as always, you can find my working copy and a fresh copy in the Google Classroom on the classwork tab, which is posted as a material. Give everybody a minute or two to load up the website. And in case you are confused as what I am referring to with the Google Classroom, I will boot that up in the meantime. So here is the Google Classroom. Here is the code QAF7IBJ. I will drop the code in the chat as well in case you have not already joined. There's a link to join. And then you just head on over to our classwork tab, and you can find all of our weekly recaps with the information posted about each week. So hopefully you are finding your way over to our website or using my copy I provided on the Classroom. All right, and hopefully you are now on the website. And here is what we were working on last week, this idea of using substring in order to get a whole chunk of multi-digit numbers. So this first line, essentially, we were getting the first number we typed in. Now, is there any restriction of how long, how many digits this number can be? No. The code we wrote, it works with not only 2-digit numbers, but 10-digit numbers. You see, what we're doing is that we are getting the first number we wrote, which is located at the 0th index. And then since we know the last index is going to be exclusive, we just take a substring from the 0th till the operation symbol index. That way, we are grabbing the first number, the first digit of the number, all the way till the last digit, which has all the way to the last operation symbol. And since the operation symbol is exclusive, it's not included in our calculations. Similarly, we applied the same mentality when writing our second line of code in order to get the whole second number. And basically what we did was that we knew that after the operation symbol, so say I do 33 plus 96, we know that we want to grab this whole 96 number. And the way we do that is that we look at the index after the operation symbol. Since we know the first index is always inclusive, we don't want the operation symbol. That wouldn't make sense. We can't do 33 plus 96. Basically, what we're doing through this line of code is substringing from the 9 all the way till the end of our second number, regardless of however many digits it was. Now, this week, we're going to be expanding on this idea, doing some more code, and make sure that we can finish off our multi-digit calculations. So if you take a look right now, if I do 33 plus 96, it's broken. Nothing's working. When I press equal, so if I run this again, if I do 33, if I do 33, 333 plus 333, nothing works. Well, that's because we still have one area to hit in our program in order to make sure that we can perform multi-digit calculations. And that is going to occur in our do output function. Remember, this is the function which we have linked every single button, including the operation buttons, to. We are passing them using this function as a parameter passing function, in which we're passing in the number, and then whether we are passing the value in is a number or an operation symbol, a number being 1 through 9, an operation symbol being like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And now basically we have one more thing which we have to fix on our do output function in order to get our multi-digit calculations to work. So we know that in this function, we are getting those two parameters of the value which the user has inputted and the type it is. Is it an operation symbol? Is it a number? But right now, the way we have it set up is that if you notice, we are just setting the value the user enters to one number, meaning it's not going to perform a multi-digit calculation if our first number is only set to one number. So in order to fix that, what we have to do is do our same variable, num calc1 plus sign, the value the user enters. Give everybody a minute to write that out. And now this way, this if statement will only execute if the parameter is a number. So only if a number 1 through 9 is being passed in, then this if statement will execute, and then it'll make sure that our number is being compiled as a multi-digit number and not just one single digit, which is being updated every single time. And if you guessed it, we're going to apply the same code to our numcalc2. So numcalc2 equals num calc2 plus the val variable, making sure that we are getting a multi-digit number where needed and not just getting the most recent number the user has inputted. All right, and once we have that, we have one more thing remaining. We have to make sure that we add a condition for our else statement. We have to make sure that this else statement only runs when our operation variable is equal to nothing. So what I'm going to do is do else if, opening close parentheses, operation is equal to an empty pair of quotes with no space in the middle. And this way, we will know that our operation symbol is inputted only when our operation value does not, our operation variable does not already contain a value. So with those pieces of code written, I'm gonna hit run, and let's see what happens. So if I do 33 plus 33, we should see 66 being printed out. Oh, it just updated. 33 plus 33. We finally got it. We are able to do multi-digit calculations in our calculator. It just did 33 plus 33, which if we want to confirm, if I head on over to a calculator by Google, you can of course press that. I do 33 plus 33, 66. I go to my calculator, 66. In case you missed it, if I do 33 plus maybe, how about we do, let's see, we'll do 67. We should get 100. There we go. We have successfully combined our idea of substring in order to do multi-digit calculations. And even if I want to do, say, 3-digit number, like 100, and I want to do times, or actually, let's do 100 divided by 100. That should give us 1. And it does give us 1. And now we are successfully able to grab the whole number, regardless of however many digits that number is, and perform a calculation. So say I want to do 96 times 45. That is 4,320. If I open up a calculator again, I do the same calculation, 96 times 45. We indeed get 4,320. 320. There we go. Give yourself a pat on the back. This is a very big concept and a super big idea of this project, getting multi-digit calculations to work. So now, since we have a bit more time remaining, we got this huge milestone done. How about we add another operation to our calculator today? That not being one of the basic arithmetic like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, because we already have those. That being today, we're going to add the square root functionality. So in case you do not in case you're not this level of math or you're confused, what is a square root? Basically, if I have a square root of a square number, so say the square root of 9 is going to be equal to 3. Why is that? Well, because 3 times 3 equals 9. So whatever number multiplied by itself gets you, we can take the square root of that to get the original number. Similarly, if I do the square root of 81, that's going to get me 9, because 9 times 9 is 81. Say I do the square root of 16, that's going to get me 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. Another example I'll do is if we do the square root of 64, that's going to get me 8, because 8 times 8 is 64. So that is the basic idea with our square root function. And now what we have to do is actually add that operation symbol. So what I'm going to, my screen. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy and paste the operation button just to make a new operation. And now I got to get the square root symbol. So I have a website which has the square root symbol. I'm just going to copy and paste it like such. Change the value, hit run, make sure everything's updated like such. And in case you can't find the square root symbol, I will drop it in the chat as well. There it is, if you want to add it by yourself as well. Give everybody a quick minute to do that. And now, essentially what we have to do is we have to code what happens when we perform a square root. Now, we have this awesome math library, which we will be using today, that idea of making our lives easier, which we will be getting into in a little bit. However, what I'm going to do is firstly copy and paste this else if statement, which we wrote 2 weeks ago. And now I'm going to change that if the operation being passed in is equal to the square root symbol, meaning a square root symbol is occurring, we have to perform a square root of a number. However, what I want to do is that I want it to look nice, meaning formatted nicely. So I want it to be inputted in such a manner that I do square root of 81, and then I get an answer. Consequently, comparingly, what I do not want to do is do 81 and then the square root symbol. That looks pretty weird. And the first manner I showed is a bit more conventional and more mathematical. Give you guys a quick minute to catch up. Yes, I use the the link is saved, and you can find it in our classroom under the week 15 Tech Bytes recap with a fresh copy of the code. And I will post a link again today after the session ends as well. Yep, all right. So now we have to think about what are we going to do when we perform a square root calculation. So in terms of substring, we're going to have our operation symbol first, and then however many digits we want to add. So what I'm thinking is that if I turn the annotation tool on, I need to substring from this first digit all the way till the end, however many digits there are. Meaning, I need to do the operation index plus 1, because that's going to get me the first digit in our number. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is say, first of all, change my numCalc1 variable equal to, and then in order to make sure that we convert our string into an integer, write the code parse capital int. And then our string variable, which is our display, dot substring. And then display dot index of And now I'm going to get the index of wherever our operation symbol is occurring. And simply, I'm just going to add 1. Remember what we discussed, if I do square root of 81, you want to do the operation symbol index plus 1, because remember, the first parameter is always inclusive. That way, we will get the number 8 and any number onward as well. So I'll give you guys a quick minute to catch up there. Remember, this parse int can make sure that our number is an actual number. It's not a string variable, so we can multiply and do operations on apples to apples, not apples to oranges in a sense. We are grabbing the substring from the first index after the operation till the very end of the number. With that down, we have to change the actual math going on. A square root doesn't mean there's division going on. We gotta do some square root operation. Well, the beauty of programming is that it makes our lives easy. What I'm gonna do is use this library called math.sqrt and then numcalc1, like such. And basically, if you guessed it, this little line of code, it does the square root. So the square root of 9, it should give us 3. 81 should give us 9. And to prove it, how about we run our program? I hit run button. I want to do the square root of 81. We should get the number 9. And there we go. You gotta love it when something works exactly how you want it to, and we just had that happen. So if I do another square root symbol, I'll do square root of, it just updated, square root of 64. Look at how nice and formatted that is. Looks like we're actually using a real calculator, like a TI. I hit equal, it tells us square root of 64 is indeed 8. So just to recap, guys, we used our methodology and our concept about the idea of substring and applied it not only to do multi-digit calculations today, but also to work with this square root symbol, which requires us to grab all the digits which occur after the operation symbol. And that is the actual coding which we performed today. I am going to save this, and this will, of course, be posted on our classroom for you to check out. And yeah, so with that being our code done for today's date, next week we're going to be continuing our calculator project, and maybe we can add some other operations if you guys would like maybe some trig function, some other, maybe an absolute value operation. And then we're going to make our calculator do some nicety things, meaning we'll add a clear button. We can add add some CSS, make our calculator look nice. So if you want to show it off to your friends and family. And then we can look into doing something like a show and tell. I'll maybe create a spot on our Google Classroom, not this week, but next week, so that we can have you guys share your finished products as well. But as always, guys, I hope you guys had a great time today, learned something new with the fun fact of the day, and are having a blast making our own calculator. As always, spread the word. Have a great week and weekend up ahead, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, guys. See ya.